EasyCars allows you to record expenses against your vehicles. To create an expense for a vehicle, select the vehicle in your stock management screen you want to add the expense to. Once you have clicked onto the vehicle, hover to the expense tab and click to enter it. Once you are in, click on the Add Expense button on the right and the window to enter the expense will appear. This is what you will use to enter the expense in. You have the order date. This is where you put the date of when you ordered the expense. The expense type is where you can select if the expense is a general expense or a warranty expense. If the expense was incurred when preparing the vehicle for sale, select general. However, if the expense was incurred as part of the repairs under warranty, select warranty. The supplier field is where you put who you are paying to for this expense, whether it's a business or a contact. The amount field is where you put how much the expense cost. The tax invoice tick box you can tick on if the supplier had provided you a tax invoice, which will auto-calculate the GST on the expense below, or leave it unticked if the supplier did not provide you a tax invoice. The GST field is where you can enter the amount of GST on the expense. The description field is where you can type in what the expense is about. The non-accounting trans tick box can be used if your EasyCars system is linked to Xero or MyOb. If you were to tick this on, the expense will not be synced across to Xero or MyOb. Leave this unticked if you want the expense to be synced across to Xero or MyOb. The paid tick box allows you to tick on if you have paid for the expense already. You can then select your bank account and payment method that was used from the drop-down and enter in the payment reference. This can be the receipt number or a note what the payment is for. You'll also notice the order date field has changed to pay date instead. If you haven't paid for the expense, leave it unticked and you will only need to enter the supplier invoice number. Once you have entered all the information in, click the Add Expense button on the bottom right and it will add the expense onto the expense tab of the vehicle. If the expense was ticked as paid, you'll see the status is paid. If the expense wasn't ticked as paid, you'll see the status says billed and a PO number is generated on the right. To mark the billed expense as paid, press the PO number on the right and it will take you to the purchase order screen of the expense. Scroll down and you will see the payment section. Press Add Payment on the bottom right. Using this window, fill in the payment date, select the bank account used, enter the amount you'll be paying, the payment method used, and enter the payment reference. Press Add Payment, and the payment will be entered. You'll see the status has changed to paid. If we go back to the vehicle in stock management, the status has changed to paid as well. To edit the expense, if the expense doesn't have a PO number on the right and the status says paid, press the blue pencil button on the right and you'll be able to change the fields of the expense. Press the green RSA button to save it. If the expense has a PO number generated and the status says billed, press the PO number. This will take you to the purchase order screen of the expense. Navigate down and press the cancel bill button on the bottom right and the blue pencil button will appear on the right of the expense where then you can edit the expense. Press the green arrow button to save it, then press Save and Bill. To delete the expense, if the expense has a PO number generated and the status is paid, press the PO number on the right and it will take you to the purchase order screen of the expense. Navigate to the bottom right and press the red Cancel Purchase Order button and press OK to cancel the order. If the status of the PO is billed, click the Cancel Bill button on the bottom right first, and you will then be able to cancel the purchase order. If there is a payment against the PO, delete the payment first, and then you'll be able to cancel the bill and the purchase order. If the status of the PO is ordered, you can press to cancel the purchase order. This will mark the expense as cancelled, and when you go back to the vehicle in stock management, you will see the expense has been removed.